sports data and risk management in modern sportsbooks.
Welcome everyone, thank you for joining. My name is WESTCOTT, I work for Betgenius. As Betgenius, we're part of Genius Sports Group, who are a global leader in sports data and video technology. We work in partnership with over 300 sports, including the English Premier League and Serie A, and we supply a range of sportsbook content and management services to the regulated betting, marketing, live data, trading, risk and streaming services. So today we're going to be talking about sports data and risk management in modern sportsbooks. Obviously this is an important subject as markets become more competitive and operators continue to search for improvements in every area. I'm really pleased today to be joined by a great panel of speakers. So we have DINOS from Altenar and David Lloyd from Melbet. So guys, I think just to kick us off, if you could do a bit of a brief introduction around yourselves, your current role in the business, but also give me a bit of an insight to start us off with what you see the current trend of risk management being in the markets in which you guys work. So DINOS, if we could start with you, please.
Hi, Will. Hi, David. Nice to be with you. I'm pretty sure it will be an interesting discussion, as you say, Will. Just to introduce myself briefly before I go to the point. Well, I'm DINOS STRANOMITIS. I'm working for Altenar as a Chief Operating Officer. It happened that I'm also one of the founders of the company. When we started 6 years ago, we're going pretty fast in the market, and our main business is sports betting provider, a fully managed solution or software only. And obviously, I'm coming now to the point that say that if you want to have a sportsbook solution, a fully managed sportsbook solution, you have to include in your solution not just sports data, also risk management, odds compiling, A to Z, everything needed for an operator just to do the marketing. So I'm coming to the point, what's the trend in risk management? In my opinion, it's quite simple, I have to say, is nowadays is not necessary to move the price unless exceptional reasons apply. As this should be done by the feeds, because you have to follow to market to a certain extent. There are always exceptions in this statement, but in my opinion, risk management should focus to segment the customers, to understand the ability of the customer to find, let's say, some values, adjust the limits accordingly, make sure that your VIP, they have enough limit to bet on. And so if I have to stay short in the response, well, and I'm happy to elaborate more later on, say the modern risk management, it's all about customer segmentation. I can give you examples that when we had to change the price, but I think let's give it to David before we continue.
Yeah, that's all right. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Nice meeting you. Even if it's unfortunately due to the current situation, we can't do in-person meeting and conferences. My name is David Lloyd. I'm actually the worldwide director for operations of Melbet. I've been quite new within the business, only a few years experience, but we've grown together, let's say, myself and also the company. We primarily do sports betting, but we also have casino. We also have esports. So we've got a very good, let's say, player experience to provide to our potential players. Now, in regards of the subject for today, as you obviously all know, the sports betting has become a huge business in Europe, Asia, and is poised to expand even bigger within the US. Now, the frameworks contribute to the integrity and the sustainability of the market. However, in sports betting, more than any other like gaming sector, the integrity and the sustainable approach to building the market depends on the full support, cooperation, competence of the operators themselves. So what we're going to discuss is actually an effective sports betting solution addresses the needs of a market that depends upon the operator's ability to manage the risks. And obviously we're going to go to the risk management, which we're going to answer hopefully together. The two key questions, what I would say is who wants to bet and what is he betting on?
Yeah, thank you, David. Thank you, DINOS. So really exciting actually. We've got two different angles here, one from a provider and then one from an operator's perspective. And DINOS, I just want to elaborate a little bit on your point there where you said perhaps previously risk management was all around changing the price versus the bet, okay? And now you're saying it's about accepting the right stake from each user and maximizing that. Can you potentially give me a bit more on how you guys as a business or how your customers can go around optimizing their risk and their profitability from that process?
I will actually, before I go to that, I would like to agree 100% with David. The two main questions he put on the table are correct. And what I emphasize also is who is betting. But let me elaborate a bit, Will. Let's assume that you have a portfolio of customers, operators, and all of those, they don't really approach the same audience. And I will come to specific example for the audience to enjoy. I remember in World Cup, the game England against Colombia. We all remember that.
Of course.
Yes. So it was 1-1 equalizer for Colombia in last minute, even though England managed to qualify on penalties after 20 years. You know, anyway, what I'm coming on is that in Altenar we have, let's say, the biggest Colombian online operator. So when the market comes with 215, 220 on England, because let's assume that the biggest bookmakers, the biggest operators in the world are British. So the British operators, they expect on their books interest on England no matter what.
Yeah.
So they're coming out with a price. And let's be honest, Asia is respecting the English bookmakers because of the tradition. And they're always cautious. You know, England is always a kind of favorite for every World Cup, for every European Championship. So for me, this 220, it looked very low. So for that particular operator, I had to go 245. We ended up with more than £1 million sterling risk on Colombia. Regardless that we had almost an arbitrage price on England. So let's say the customization because of the localization is necessary if you want to have a proper risk management approach. Same goes, we have Golden Palace in Belgium. I cannot have Belgium in the World Cup at a super price because Belgium is always considered a small nation, even though they have a great team. So all this stuff has to be taken in consideration, and that was a little bit of the old school that still apply only on exceptions. In general, we have to keep the market price. Let's say on a weekly basis, we have a market price on every team in Europe, and then you adjust the limits of every individual of what David said, just who is betting is important. What is betting comes after, but what is betting is maybe comes now to discuss with you and Betgenius, say, do we have data? Do we have, let's say, a good profile of the league? Is it a major league? Is it a major sport? Is it, let's say, Eastern European country volleyball? Or is French league to bet?
Thank you, DINOS. And David, from your angle here, so as an operator yourself, one of the second part of your loaded question at the beginning there is how do you ensure that you're removing the volatility for your customers and you're managing your players in a profitable but a long-lasting manner?
Yeah. Well, you see, obviously, first of all, the trader has to have a very in-depth knowledge of his customers in order to make the right trading decision and to extract the best information possible for him to be able to create every single bet. But he also needs to consider what the event is, what information is available, and what is the associated risk. Now, we're talking about, it depends from an operator side of view. You've got quite a few options, which I've got about 4. It's to adjust the odds, take on a larger risk, which is, it depends on who you are in the company, and obviously if you want to take a larger risk. But in some cases, the operator, like myself, can decide to hedge some of the risks or close the offer and accept normal bets. But that obviously can get quite bad from a player's point of view.
Yeah.
It depends on the players. You see, some players have a long history. With us, it is relatively simple to categorize the player against a risk profile. Is he a normal customer, a winning customer, or a VIP customer? So sometimes there are reliable clues. For example, when a new player is placing large stakes at high prices and has signs up from a country outside our key markets, for example. In this scenario, the player is likely to be a winner. And it happened in so many cases, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for them, unfortunately for us. But usually, though, the clues are less obvious. The judgment calls much tougher to make. And the trader ourselves will need to rely on the best risk management tools, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. I think as your kind of answer alluded to there, it's very much in a bespoke manner, so case by case, how you're looking at your customers and how you're managing that. I think, DINOS, you've got many, many years experience here. Referring to the modern sportsbooks, as this question does, risk can obviously be managed at different levels. So you can either have a full control, look at each individual bet as an operator, or you can adopt a fully outsourced approach.
Yes.
What would you advise to your customers, and what do you see the benefits and the negatives of each approach?
It's pretty simple, again. The modern approach is to outsource your product. It makes sense to have it in-house only if you have a very large investment behind or a very large volumes. I doubt that William Hill or Ladbrokes will ever outsource their sportsbook. And that's the correct decision. However, a startup or a small medium operator who definitely should give priority on the marketing and acquisition of players instead of operating Arsenal at 150 or 155 should be the case. So if I have to advise, depends the business plan, but only exceptional cases allows operators to have in-house operations in trading. That's my opinion. I definitely respect the ones they're trying to do. However, what is very important, outsourcing your sportsbook does not mean that you have to get a vanilla version. It is extremely important the operator and provider, they sit together and they make a proper business plan, how it should be. It has to be a discussion, even what feeds you use, what data you use. We have to discuss, official data against unofficial data is a question mark as well. You using particular sources, how you approach the market. Do we need to be aggressive in the margin? Do we have to be an average in the margin? And so every operator, yes, outsourcing is the definitely the good point to go. But outsourcing on a customized solution is my opinion. That has to be discussed. If the operator does not have the even resources for customization and they just need vanilla, that's another story. But we're talking only about startups. You know what I mean?
Well, yes. I mean, I totally agree with what you said, but that's coming actually to segmentation of the players based on knowledge gained from the customer intelligence, understanding actually the true risk associated with the event the player wants to bet on, or etc., and obviously having the back office tools available to us as well.
That's very correct.
I think from both of what you've just touched upon there as well, a lot of this comes around confidence that you guys have in the product. So whether the product be the level of functionality and control you have, but also what powers that product, which brings us on nicely to discuss sports data. And more we're seeing, the importance of official sports data, and certainly us as a business is something we work very hard on. Of course, there's several benefits to this. David, as an operator, what's your view on the importance of having a high quality sports data feed for Melbet?
It's very important because obviously, as a bookmaker, you are completely in very much. It's more offering actually arbitrage for any reason against other bookmakers. So you will be actually able. It's a long list, but never mind. But it's actually to be able to put you in front of the other bookmakers. This is what it's more important, because some of them, some of the bookmakers out there, they just created themselves a profile, and sometimes the players, they need to realize between a very good bookmaker and a very bad one. And unfortunately, the very bad ones jeopardize us as the very good ones, and creates quite a lot of problems in terms of trusting a bookmaker. But also also applies to getting yourself affiliates, which they can promote your business.
Yeah, and DINOS, just briefly for us there, so you also mentioned official versus unofficial data. How do you see that moving forwards into the future, and what do you see the benefits of either of those approaches being?
Quite fast again. I mean, remember 15 years ago when one trader had to watch the TV to operate the game. And I still remember in Spanish La Liga, that time, the TV, the official channel, had 45 seconds delay. How you can survive with that? So to have official data from the right source is very important. And in my opinion, the future is simple. It will be two different data sources, official and unofficial. The official data, you can have low margin operation, you can go aggressive, you can have many markets. Unofficial will be the opposite. That's how it should be. In my opinion, especially providers, that they go with unknown sources data, they have an expiry date that's very close to us. Especially now with the COVID. How are they getting into the stadium? Actually, this is the week coming is national teams playing. And the lower divisions of England, it will be interesting to see what Betgenius will have got the others.
Indeed. Well, as you say, with the current times, you make a really, really good point around access to that data, and without TV pictures, it becomes very difficult. So look, guys, just quickly, I'm keen to get your closing remarks. And David, if we can start with you, just a kind of a very, very brief conclusion on where you see the future of risk management in kind of modern sportsbooks going.
Yeah, okay. So actually, one of the things for the risk management is actually to remain competitive. Sports betting operators must offer an increasing number of events, as my colleague said. Often these extra events generate a smaller volume of publicity available information, and that gives the informed player a real advantage. So just trying to get as much as more exotic, if I may say, bet offers, it will bring that extra. And obviously, with this risk management process must constantly evolve to keep pace with these changes, or otherwise will erode operators and players will just go act on a truly global basis, really, to be honest.
Thank you. And Dinos, your thoughts very
yes,
briefly?
Well, before closing down, I say we have to wish everyone to be in good health on these weird days. That's very important. Not to say I wish that football, and not only, will not stop. That's more important. So to have a future. The future of risk management is automatic calculation of the quality of the player's ability. It requires big data analysis. It requires many stuff. I foresee that to happen widely in 5-10 years' time. In my opinion, the price will become more and more rigid, and on the official data leaks it will go with less and less margin possible, will go very close to the Asian bookmakers. That's how it will work. So the European operators can compete against them on the official, I said again. On the unofficial, it will be a high margin offer, both in Europe and Asia. So we will come to a harmonization of the situation when it comes to the books. We will not have these Asian handicap super competitive lines only in Asia. It can be also in Europe as well, but it has to be behind official data structure and formulas. That's what I think.
Brilliant. Gents, thank you very much for your time. Thank you everyone for joining us, and enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you.
Thank you.